So, The Neighbors Know My Name.
Yep.
That record was that, that was the one, the R&B one. I mean, obviously he had a bunch of other big hits, but that record, let's do a deep dive on that. Like, what was the process when I guess, did you come up with the concept? How'd that come to be?
So he comes down, he's like, he said, it sound like the neighbors is banging on the wall because I'm beating it up.
Yeah.
And they're mad at me. That's what he literally said. And so the music is going, it's blasting, and he's just like, the neighbors.
Nice.
The neighbors. Like, he just kept doing the neighbors. He didn't say to know my name yet.
Yeah.
And so he just kept doing that while we're making the music. And so as he kept doing that, like, he kept describing what's going on. Like, I'm beating it up, so she's screaming my name.
Yeah,
Neighbor can hear her saying my name. Neighbors know my name. And he just kept singing it. So I'm like, dude, no, we need to lay that down.
Yeah, that's a record.
Can we talk? Can we talk? Can we talk? R&B.
What's up? It's your boy Ian Vaughn. And we have to do this a little bit different today. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Can We Talk R&B podcast. We did have a technical difficulty on the intro of this episode. So I decided to make a quick video because I needed to introduce my next guest properly. Listen, this guy is one of the GOATs. So you guys may start hearing that when we have a GOAT on the show. He's one of the GOATs. He's worked with Boyz II Men. He's worked with Isley Brothers, Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, Patti LaBelle, 702, Tyrese, Trey Songz, just to name a few. We have none other than the super producer, R&B extraordinaire, Troy Taylor. Come on, can we talk R&B? You've been, a part of a needle pusher behind some of the most influential music that raised me. It's some of the most influential music that has been the soundtrack to our lives throughout the 90s, all the way up to now. It's just amazing to have you here. Thank you for joining.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
No, for sure. I got one question I was going to ask you. I said this while we were just kind of chopping before we started the video.
Okay.
And we're just having fun, so this is not even nothing like super uptight. There's a song. I have to ask this question. Shades.
Okay.
I think it's called Tell Me.
Tell Me.
This record came out, I don't know, 96, 97, something like that.
Yeah,
right?
about 96, I think. Yeah.
Which song came first? Did that song come before LL?
Yeah.
I thought so. I remember hearing this song.
Yeah. There's a couple of records that they beat me to it, and it pissed me all the way off. It's all the way off. It's that one, and then it's I actually spoke to Jeff Lorber. Like, Rain Dance is like one of my favorite songs that he's done.
Nice.
And so I did a song with Rain Dance, and I forgot how I got in touch with him, but I got a chance to tell him that I did a song to it. And it ended up on SWV, but a year after Junior Mafia.
Come on. So
I never talked to him again, so I'm thinking he probably thought that one, what was it? Remember?
Is that Crush on You?
Yes. He probably thought that was the record I was talking about, but it wasn't. So it ended up coming out a year later on SWV's album, but I was so pissed.
You know what's funny? I just mentioned we had Fanatic on the show. Fanatic produced like the Crush on You version of that.
That just crushed me even more.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I had told Jeff Lorber, I was so excited. Yo, man, I did it. So if you hear it, it's me.
Wow.
Didn't know that they were coming out with Crush on You.
So, wow.
So, and then to Tell Me, I had that song sampled ready to go way before.
Take me on that timeline, because I remember this. Like I'm in high school. I remember hearing that song first. That's the one I heard first.
Right.
And I'm like, tell me your name, I call you that. And I'm like, man, that song is hard. And fast forward, all of a sudden it just went off radio.
Because I don't know what Andre, rest in peace. I don't know what his campaign marketing promo thing was with Shade. They didn't do a good job with promoting a lot of the artists on Motown at that time. I don't think it was good marketing. but they super lost it. Super lost it. So
You know how long I've been wanting to ask you that question?
yeah.
Over 20 years, I swear. When I found out that you were behind that record, I'm like, I
thought it was so genius. I thought it was perfect. And when they didn't really go for it, I was really disappointed.
Man, they shot a video for it.
I'm a huge Bernard Wright fan too. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really disappointed.
Man, I started the show off with that question just because I've been holding on to that for so long.
It's okay.
But
I do the same thing.
Yeah. But look again. Super excited to have you on the show. I want to talk about like what got you into R&B music. Why you're so passionate about it still.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and obviously your 30-year career. We have so many things that we can touch on. And I know, listen, I'm not going to consider myself an alumni of Troy Taylor University, but I'm definitely one of the newbies and been learning about what you've been putting out into the Atmos, man. So, take us all the way back. Like, what got you started in it? What made you fall in love with it?
Okay, so I can just remember when I was young, as long as I can remember, my mom playing R&B music, Isley Brothers, James Brown, and just stuff like let's see, 3 Degrees. Just different songs, Barry White, Marvin Gaye, Isaac Hayes. There's certain records that I remember. And then as I'm getting into nursery school, I remember the radio playing songs, the Carpenters. And so I know this because whenever I got older and I hear the songs, it flashes back to when I was young. So I'm like, oh, that's who that is.
That's right.
So it would just jog me back to Stevie Wonder and all that stuff. So it was, even though I was a church boy at the same time with the Walter Hawkins and the Hawkins family and Andre Crouch and DJ Rogers, it was back and forth. And then the jazz. Yeah. So it was all these things growing up. And actually, I was an artist first. Right. And so during the journey of getting signed and making my way to Motown, it was not until Boyz II Men came out that I realized I don't want to be an artist.
Hold on. Now, I've heard you say this. Before you got to this point, how'd you passionate about music? How'd you even get to the point to even getting a record deal?
Well, there was a rapper, his name was Owen Taylor. Okay. And no relation. People always thought we were related, but he was a rapper in my hometown, and he had came and asked me to produce his music. See, I was the kid that you would come to my house, and I was the kid with the 4-track or the 8-track and the keyboard and the drum machine. I was that kid, and my mom would come and she'd see a room full of dudes, just all, just funky in the room. And she's like, oh, turn it down. So I was that kid. He sought me out and asked me if I would do his music. So I did. And during that time of working with him, there were a couple of songs that I would do the background vocals, like the hook. Nice. And this is before it became a thing, before it blew up. People were doing it, but it hadn't blown up yet. Right. So I was in a group at that time, and he had gotten an investor, and the investor had hired someone in New York to come and take us to New York to do meetings. And when we would go to do meetings, me as the producer, him as the artist, all the A&Rs would always ask, who's that singing? And I would go, that's me. So are y'all together? And I'm like, no, I'm his producer. I produce the music. Okay. And it just kept becoming a reoccurring question. Gotcha. So the girl that I was with at the time, the group that I was in at the time, was all bad. It was going bad. And I was really in a transitional stage. So after a while, after the meetings kept becoming are you guys together? I just decided maybe we just need to just be together and be a group. And so we called ourselves, I came up with a name called Smooth Characters. And so we signed this deal.
I have to laugh.
Yeah.
Because back in them days, dude, everybody come up with some kind of name. I was in a group we were called the Untouchables.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it. Smooth characters.
We signed a horrible deal.
Mm-hmm.
And me being so angry and so anxious, I didn't get an attorney to look at the deal. So it turned out to be way worse than ever.
Wow.
However, I ended up meeting Charles Farrar during the course of it. And he had been hiring me to do keyboard work. So I'm from New Haven, Connecticut. So I would just get on the train back and forth.
Yeah.
And during that time, he was like, you know, I didn't know him when I signed the deal.
Mm-hmm.
But we had started working together. And so he had offered to get the contract looked at and found out. That's how I found out how bad it was.
Wow.
And so during that time, he suggested that we kind of like don't talk to the label, kind of like just in hopes to get dropped.
Hope they'll drop you, yeah.
Well, long story short of that, they dropped the rapper, but they didn't drop me. So the record ended up coming out as a single.
Mm-hmm.
It ended up coming out called The Way You Move. And he was still on it. He was rapping and I was the hook.
Gotcha.
Doing the ad-libs. And, but there was one thing about me, even in my teenage years, and a lost art, reading credits. I always loved credits.
That's right.
Still do, but it's hard to find now.
That's right.
But because I was such a fan of reading credits, that was a big deal to me. So I worked at the record stores and all that, and that one name that I would see every time, I would notice his name every time, Timmy Regisford. It's just like his name.
Mm-hmm.
So when the label decided to put the song out, and then asked me to mix it, I didn't know anything about mixing. Anything. I'm from New Haven. I never been in the studio before like that, and so I just rolled some dice and said his name, and they got in touch with him and asked him to mix the record.
Nice.
And upon that, me going to my very first mix session and meeting Timmy Regisford, that's where it all started.
Changed your life.
Yes, because I played him more of my music. He offered to get me off that label.
Wow.
and bought me out of it and signed me to Motown. So that's how I got to Motown.
Wow. And
Charles and I became partners as a production team.
This is the rapper?
No, rapper is gone at this point. He's just
doing his thing.
Mm-hmm. But Charles was the one that I was doing keyboard work
Gotcha.
And he was the one that offered to get the contract looked at.
Nice.
And since I was going back and forth, I was just ready to leave hometown and move to Brooklyn.
Yeah. And
so I stayed with him and his girl at the time. So we became partners. I dropped the Smooth and we became the characters. Yeah. So that's how that all started. And by that time, Timmy was the one that got me onto a lot of Motown acts, one including Boyz II Men.
Wow.
And then because I was in the process of making my album at that time.
Yeah.
When they came out, and I saw my name on them credits.
Yeah.
The feeling of just being just seeing written, produced by, that feeling was way more than being an artist.
Wow.
And so I asked Timmy if I could just
not be an artist.
That hadn't come out yet, so not a lot of money has been spent.
Yep.
And so that's how it happened. And that been one of my favorite decisions I've ever made in my life.
Shout out to Timmy Regisford. Yeah. It's so important. I've always talked about how important it is to have an incredible mixing engineer in general, right? Definitely back in those days. And I remember, first of all, how expensive it used to be to get into a real studio and have a real mix engineer mix your records. Back in like 93, when I'm 13 years old, I had my first opportunity to record, and it was a project it was Jive. And this label, I'm sorry, it was on Warner Brothers. What am I talking about? It was on Warner Brothers. And I'm singing backgrounds on the project. I'm a kid. Lord knows we didn't get paid much money. Literally, we was in the studio all day recording like 10 songs. And I left that session with like $35. Like something ridiculous. Like, I'll never forget that. But I remember watching the mixing engineer and watching him move up move the knobs and turn this and up and down, panning and all this other stuff. And this is back on analog days.
Yes.
So that, to pick him out, and then he ended up being the golden goose essentially to kind of help you elevate you to the next step.
Yeah.
Step of your career.
Timmy had a mixer, an engineer. Timmy was an A&R. He was a record executive for Motown.
Gotcha.
But he had his engineer, Alan Gregory.
Gotcha.
So Alan Gregory was the one that would set it up. Timmy would come in once Alan had everything mixed and EQ'd. Timmy would come in and organize and arrange.
Gotcha.
Everything to how he heard it.
Nice.
So I just sat in the corner and just watching that, and I'll never forget the feeling of seeing this is how they do it.
Yeah.
That I was hooked.
Of course.
And the fact that then as an artist I didn't have to play the game.
Yeah.
I don't want to play the artist game. Nah. People say something slick, I'm going to say something slick back.
Yeah.
It's going to be all bad. And they're not going to play my record.
That's right.
I'm going to say something slick.
That's right.
That's just how it's going to go.
Yeah. So Boyz II Men was your first placement.
I will say Boyz II Men was my first. Boyz II Men and the group Today. Remember Big Bug?
I do remember that.
Yes. Those were the two groups that I produced on Motown first. And I like to classify them as my first professional, because I was doing little things here and there.
Sure.
Keyboard work, and I actually sang background on a Kool & the Gang project.
Nice.
And so I was doing little things like that, but this was my first major where I read my name.
Yeah.
And I got credit.
You're getting credit for it. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. So
what was that check like?
I don't remember. I was asked that question before.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. I can tell you this, though.
Yeah.
It's way more than what I get now 30 years later.
Wow.
And that's a shame. We'll talk about that later.
For sure. Yeah. Man.
Yeah,
we're going to have to hold on to that one. I know where we're going. That's amazing. So all right, now you got Boyz II Men. First of all, Boyz II Men and Jodeci are my two they're my favorite groups. I mentioned before that I think New Edition is probably, or arguably, the greatest group because of, how they started, what they created. They took from the old school and they created what we love today in terms of R&B group. But Boyz II Men, you couldn't tell me nothing about Boyz II Men. And when I went back and I've listened to your project that you put out, I can hear that sound. So this is their first album that you get this placement on. So some of that is your sound.
Yeah, because and then so what made it crazy is because as I'm an artist on Motown, I used to do a lot of harmonies. So all my demos had sound like a group.
That's right.
Heavy harmonies.
That's right.
That's why Timmy was like, yo, these songs would be great for these kids that Mike Bivins had.
That's right.
Sitting for about a year.
Nice.
And they didn't know what to do with them. Nice. So my songs were the first songs that they heard Boyz II Men sing in the studio.
Wow.
So it was, Wanye was 15, Sean was 16, Nate and Mike were 17.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They were kids.
Yeah.
So I did 4 songs on them. So that was I was technically supposed to do the whole album. But it's a whole nother story. I'm the OG with the stories now.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Look, but that's amazing though. But see, again, guy like me, I'm listening to you like, come on, bro, come on. Yeah. So after that, like after Boyz II Men, who was next? Like what? I mean, obviously that album went crazy. I want to say that album did like 7 or 8 million copies or something.
At that time, yeah.
Yeah.
It went up to 12.
Right.
And then, but yeah, no. Now, ironically, let me go back to before I met everybody. I was already going back and forth to New York working with a producer at the time named Royal Bayen.
Okay.
And Royal is known to have discovered Teddy Riley. But anyway, I met him through, I think, Vosa Rivers. Okay. These are names I have not said in years. But
digging that bag, brother.
During the course of working with them, I met this white kid. And they was trying to make him a solo artist, but he was from a group. Though he would talk about the group all the time. They wouldn't talk about the group. He would talk about the group.
Okay.
So they put me with him. And I got him to come back to New Haven to work with me in that room. Because I felt like, yo, if I'm going to work with him, I want him to be, you know,
catch the vibe.
Yeah. And so I wrote this song for him. And during the time that I wrote this song, he was still like in this, I guess he had broken up with his girl. Mm-hmm. And so he would be there with me, but not mentally there with me because he was sad because, and so jokingly, I wrote a song about his situation at the time because he kept telling me how things used to be with her.
Sure.
And so I wrote this song called Thinking Back. And it was around December, so the holidays, the industry shuts down. He went back home. He lived in California. He went back home, and then I never saw him again.
Gotcha.
And then some years later, I would say but maybe a year later after Boyz II Men, during the course of Boyz II Men being out, this song came out. This song came out, and every time I heard the song, it was blowing up really, really, really big. I kept listening to the person singing, and I'm like, that sounds like the dude I was working with. Like, who is this? And one day I was at Motown at the office, and Giant Records was sharing the conference room with Motown. They were in the same building. Okay. So I was in Timmy's assistant's office, and they were in the conference room. The artists were in the conference room having a meeting or whatever. And I think they were meeting with radio programmers or whatever because they were singing. So I was like, wait, that's the group that did this song, song called "I Want to Sex You Up."
Yeah.
It was huge. It was huge. And so I'm like, okay. But when they came out the door and my back was turned, I turned around and I saw Brian. I'm like, yo,
what's good?
Where you been?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened was he fell out with the people that put me with him. Okay. He never got my number, so he couldn't call me. So he couldn't get in touch with me. So I Want to Sex You Up is big now. And he hits me, he tells me at that moment, he's like, yo, Troy, this is it. And he introduced me to the group. He's like, yo, this is the dude that did Thinking Back. And he's like, yo, no, it's going to be on the album.
What?
Wait. No, I couldn't get in touch with you. So Hamza, who produced the majority of the album, remade it over from off the demo. Yeah. And I'm like, wait, it's going to be on the album? He's like, yeah, man, we kept it. And we finished writing because I had started writing.
Yeah. So
I ended up with a song on Color Me Bad and Boyz II Men
at the same time. I'm literally like, I'm anticipating. And when you said Brian, and I'm like, I'm thinking of groups, and I'm like, Color Me Bad. Come on.
Yeah. So that was really, really, really big. And at that time, what the funny thing was is that the group that I used to be in had signed a deal with Polygram. And so everybody was talking about how, I messed up because I didn't stay in the group. So,
well, I don't think you messed up that bad because
hindsight is 20/20, and so they ended up doing their thing. But because I decided not to be an artist, I was okay with that.
Yeah.
But
what was the name of that group?
Shamari. It was. I was in that group. We did a lot of talent shows and stuff when I was in high school. And so, like I said, they went on to sign the Polygram, and they had a few singles. And I was so satisfied with just being a producer and a writer behind the scenes. That was fine for me.
For sure. Man, OG for real. So now you have Boyz II Men, Color Me Bad. And I mean, for those of you who don't remember Color Me Bad, what was this, 95, maybe 93, 94?
Come back.
Earlier than that? I wanna sex you up. That was so hard.
No, because it had to be 92.
92, okay. So 92, but back then a single would last 2 years.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So the right one would hit for 2 years. So you got these are number one projects out there.
The biggest groups out.
Yeah, period. Where do you go from there? Like,
well, I mean, just working with different people at that point. So now you got, and groups became my thing, of course. Sure. Then I ended up working with Riff. Remember Riff?
Yeah, I remember Riff. Okay.
Different groups. I forget this, another group on Atlantic that I forget. Oh, no, they were on Big Beat. Dang. Phase. That's, oh gosh, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if
I've
I'm
been
familiar
trying
with
to
them.
think of that name for a long time. It was a group called Phase.
Okay.
So I found myself doing a lot of groups at that time, and majority of them didn't, materialize. But just working with different people. Like I worked with Angie Stone in the group that she was in. What was the group that she was in?
I cannot remember the name. I know exactly. Angie Stone. This is I remember around this time because that's what she really got her fame from.
It was her and the two guys. I worked with them, and I had, mind you, when I was working with Boyz II Men, I had a then sitting next to me young Carl Thomas because we had met in church when we were kids. So he was there when I was working with Boyz II Men. He was there when I was working on my album too.
That's a nugget right there.
Yeah,
so
he was right. He was right there. So,
gotcha. I didn't get put on to Carl Thomas until obviously the Bad Boy run. This is what 96, 97. I'm hearing him singing backgrounds.
This is way.
And I had been hearing about him because I'm a church boy too. So back then, I remember somebody was like, "Man, I met this guy named Carl Thomas at Convocation." He was at
That's where we met.
Nice, and I remember this very clearly.
Then.
Yeah. Very clearly. So I grew up Koji.
Okay.
So Okay. I grew up Koji. So I remember hearing about this, and I didn't put the correlation together, of course. They just like, man, he's this dope singer, boom, boom. Yeah. And so ironically, all right, my cousin was married to this producer named DeMonte. DeMonte used to produce for Eric Benet. Okay. Like all of Eric Benet's earlier stuff. And I used to be trying to get like, yo, I want to get a record to DeMonte or whatever. And none of that ever materialized either. But at that time, I just remember one of my cousins mentioning Carl Thomas to me. And for you to even say that, just big shout out to Carl Thomas to say that he was around during that time because he had a phenomenal run when he did have his, when he came out. That's crazy. Okay, well, I don't want to go into too much of a rant about that. But look, we talking R&B. We have the conversation about
talking R&B. So when I tell the stories, I have to say because there's ironic things
absolutely
that everyone knows about now.
That's right.
But it was incubating then.
That's right. Nice. So now you're like the group guy. I mean, I'm going to skip ahead to something I want to ask about. What happened to groups? What happened to R&B groups?
I think as hip hop has become the mainstream. I think it just, I want to say, and I think that this will probably answer any future questions you were probably going to ask me. I want to say it's not the fact that this generation doesn't like groups or harmonies or bridges, all the things that we missed. They just simply don't know how to do it. And that's just as simple as that. I think because when I think about, they always end up sampling the 90s. The parts they sample, the parts they speed up and didn't do dances. Clearly, it makes them feel a way. Sure. So clearly they miss, well, they don't know they miss because they weren't around. Right. But they feel something that we felt when it was out.
That's right.
That they're not getting in hip hop. So if you look at TikTok, they resurge all the 90s stuff. It's a feeling in that music
for sure
that they've discovered for themselves. And now the R&B artists of today don't quite know how to capitalize on that because they weren't born.
They weren't brought up in that timeline.
Right. So they don't know changes, chords, and all of that stuff. So they like it, but they don't know how to do it. And it's so funny to hear a lot of the young kids, when you hear certain changes and they sing, well, they can't go with the changes because unless they put the note in on auto-tune, it ain't gonna go.
That's right.
Ain't gonna slide.
That's right.
To the chord.
That's right. I mean? It's funny. It like being a and again coming from that, I hear everything you're saying. I can hear that clearly as a musician. You can play what chord. I don't care if you're coming from F to G. I know what I know what you have to go to, right? And even if you don't actually go there, I can add it vocally to because I know what notes are gonna fit, right? So I was listening to one of the groups, I guess a newer group that you've done some work with. The group They, and that record, Blue Moon, I believe, bruh. When I heard that song, I'm literally
so
like,
funny.
I was like, I literally driving, and my wife had it on her playlist, and I'm like, who is that? And I'm like, okay, these dudes,
that's interesting. That's
really interesting. But I can hear it. This is before I knew you were part of it. I could hear that those chords that meet, man. I'm like, man, this dude, you know, and they weren't doing nothing incredibly vocally. They sound great.
Yeah.
But it's not like they were just flexing vocally on the song.
Right.
But the musicality of it was there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and I said it, someone with that thing on it.
That's funny.
You know what I'm saying? Some one of them ones had touched this record.
Yeah.
Nice. So you're a part of that.
So when I got with them, a protege of mine actually hooked me up because he works with their management.
Okay.
And I got with them, but they were already fans of mine. I didn't know.
Nice.
The producer, there's an artist and there's a producer that makes them up.
Okay.
Too. And so when he said that, it's Drew and what's the other dude's Dante.
Okay.
Dante, the producer, he was like, man, I've been a fan of yours for years. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, man. Like, so they came to the house here in Atlanta, and he started his beat. They started the beat, and they're doing their process, and they asked me, what do I hear? And they want R&B, of course.
Yeah.
So I'm going to my classic R&B sounds.
Yeah.
That I know,
right.
You know, and I'm doing my classic chords that I do.
That's right.
And they're going crazy.
Of course.
And I'm like, are you sure? They're like, yo, keep playing that. I'm like, okay. All right, let me go to this sound. These are my normal sounds.
Yeah.
They went nuts, man. That's, and I'm looking at them like, so that's how I know. They love it. They just don't
know how to interpret it.
They don't know. They know the sound, but they don't know how to use it.
See, I was gonna say, when I listen to like some of your newer production, you are one of the guys that I know. Again, that pedigree. I can hear the musicianship seriously. At the same time, you have that balance to make it sound current, right? So it sounds 90s, but it doesn't sound dated. So whether it's the drum patterns that you use, sounds that you use, whether it's the bass line you use, or the more or less the cadence, I think that's what it is. So, and of course the chords are there. So that means if you're a real singer, you can flex.
Yes.
If you are not such a great singer, you can still find that melody. Let's say, I don't want to throw Drake under it, but he's a good singer, but not he's not a vocalist, but he has that,
he's a melody singer.
He's a melody, he's a king, he's one of the kings of melody.
Yes.
And I feel like you as a producer capture that musically as well as and from a production standpoint. And obviously I'm watching you. Big shout out to the vocal producers because you actually, you like bringing that heat on these cats when it comes to vocal production. You know what I mean? You're
not getting by. If you gonna come and sit down, you're going to get it.
Man. And I'm
whether
like,
you sing or not.
What's funny though, like I watch a lot of your videos on social and I'm like, I know when I'm in the studio, my best performances when I have one of my, like, shout out to my man Sean George, shout out to Chip Dixon. These guys get my best has gotten some of my best vocal productions. Fight Ren as well. Big shout out to my brothers. And when I wouldn't want everybody to see me messing up, right? So I wouldn't, I mean, I may have some video, but you're only gonna see me when I hit the notes right. Or hit those runs right in the right spot. You know, you are like, nah, do that over, do that over.
It's so funny because, January 1st, 2023, I had 63K followers, right, on Instagram. And I wanted to experiment. First of the year, I wanted to do it at the top of the year. So I'm looking at Shade Room. I'm looking at Hollywood Unlocked. I'm looking at Spirit World. And I'm like, they literally post like every 2-3 minutes.
They post it regularly,
like crazy. And I'd never noticed that before. My mindset was I'll post something and then I'll give people enough time to see it.
That's right.
And maybe post tomorrow.
Nah.
So I'm laying in bed and I'm looking at this, and so I make a post. One of the posts I make is me working with someone. And so later on in the day, I posted another one. And then before I went to bed, I posted another one. Well, by the time I wake up in the morning, the first post the day before started taking off. Then the second one. So now the second day, I'm doing the same thing. So by the third day, the first two. And I'm like,
you're going viral.
Yo, this is crazy. So I'm consistently.
So you figured out the algorithm.
I'm figuring it out.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But January 20th, I hit 100K.
Wow.
January 20th. So January 1st, I started.
That's right.
I was 63K.
Yeah.
January 20th, I hit 100K. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Wow.
So now what did I learn? What did I learn? I learned that, you know, though I do not like when the record company tells the artist, well, you know, you got to get out there and you got to post content. That word is
Yeah.
Now I understand, though.
Sure.
Because I became an influencer.
That's right.
And then finding my niche. People like watching me yell.
Yeah.
They like watching me go off on people.
That's
but
right.
Here's the thing I learned. A lot of people just didn't know that you had to record over and over and over again.
Right.
They just simply didn't know.
Right.
So when they see me again, that's what they like. I'm sorry. Got distracted.
A part of that is why you, I guess, as an artist, as a singer, I remember being in the studio and I'm laying one part multiple times. A part of that is building your chops.
It is. And your ear.
And your ear, right? Again, going back to the beginning as a church musician. So I don't know if you remember, big shout out to, you know, my godmother, essentially, Miss Betty Nelson. From Houston, Texas. She is, she is Mattie Moss Clark.
Okay.
She trained right under her. Ooh. So she trained right alongside Swinky, Karen, Dorinda, Jackie. She is a part of essentially their family. Yeah. She taught me. So I learned from her. She's from Houston. She would come to our church in Louisiana, and she would take me and my brother and bring us back to her house, and we'd be with her all summer. So you want to know who's walking through that house? Who? Kim Burrell. This is 1994. You know who's walking through that house? Nikki Ross. So you want to know who's walking through that house? Micah Stampley. That's my cousin. So this is the pedigree. So when we're talking this talk, I'm like, I understand you very clearly. With that said, these musicians, I couldn't help but understand that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
you picked it up.
I picked it up, understanding that stuff. And I'm not I play guitar some, but I'm not going to mess around on different instruments, but I understand music in the way that we understand it. So I got you. I feel you. So a lot of the times these younger guys with the natural born talent, because those talent hadn't been honed or trained, they miss some of those fundamentals.
They miss a lot of it, and they don't know what to study.
Yeah.
They don't know. You grew up listening to the music.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't quote unquote call it studying, but you were studying.
Of course, yeah. Absolutely.
They don't know to listen to other things to enhance their craft.
That's right.
And so that brings me to why I do a lot of master classes and seminars to let them know, because it's a very simple question. How could we expect them to do something they never was taught to do?
That's right.
So when people be like, "Oh my God, the music today, it just," I'm like, so why don't you teach them?
That's right.
And then now you make them not want to learn, because you done talk down on them so much that you can't even get to them for them to listen to you to teach them. So that's been that's been me on a mission. Even doing this podcast, it's been me on a mission to get the musicality back.
Absolutely.
And to just say little things to make them like their ear to just lean.
Sure.
That's all they're missing.
That's all they're missing. Absolutely.
That's all they're missing.
Can we talk R&B? Pardon me for this interruption, but I got a great sponsor for today's episode that I want to share with you all. If you're in Louisiana and you need a fresh pair of kicks for school, the gym, or just want to get fly, look no further than Sneaker House. Sneaker House brings accessibility to premium and high-quality shoes to the community around them. Sneaker House is more than a shoe store, but a capsule of what makes our culture unique. They are the home to industry titans like Nike and Jordan, but also urban signatures like Staple, Cookies, Billionaire Boys Club, and Psycho Bunny. They are a Nike authorized store, so it ain't none of that fake stuff. So be sure to come visit any of their locations if you're in Lafayette, Alexandria, New Iberia, Opelousas, or my favorite, Baton Rouge. That's my hometown. So come shop for some dope sneakers. Be sure to tell them Ian Vaughn sent you from the Can We Talk R&B podcast. So visit www.sneakerhouse.net. That's SNEAKERHOUSC.net for more information. Listen, okay, so let's go back to to you and what, at least where I know you from. So obviously I'm listening to now. I went back and learned that you had touched all this music that I love. Tyrese comes out. 96, 97?
98.
98, okay. Well, the Coke commercial was right before that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to get into that. So when that song comes out, this is, of course, the Coke commercial, I'm like, this dude can really sing, right? You didn't hear that on television before. I had never heard nothing like that before. Right. And then you have, I know this is a segment, so we're going to go into it, called Respect the Pen. Sweet Lady drops. Incredible record. What would you tap into? What led you to that?
Okay, so Sweet Lady actually was about 2.5 years old. So, okay, let me take you back. So, my little brother, Jonte Austin, was signed to RCA.
Shout out to Jonte.
And so I was working with him. Kenny Ortiz, Skip Miller were the executives that signed Jonte. And so they got fired. When they got fired, Kevin Evans and Anthony Morgan came in. And when they came in, they dropped Jonte and they brought their kid in.
They dropped Jonte as an artist?
As an artist.
Okay.
Yes. And they brought their kid artist in.
Okay.
They were around the same age.
Gotcha.
So because I was already in the buildings per se, Anthony Morgan then comes to me. And at that time, I'm the characters. And asked me to do a song for their new kid. I had an issue with that. You just dropped my little brother. How you going to just come and ask me to help?
Right, the new guy.
Nah. But, however, he comes to the office, and I had a studio on Broadway and 23rd Street. And that's a very expensive area in New York. So we had bills.
Of course.
So I couldn't be like, nah, not doing that.
Yeah.
So I had to take the meeting. I'm going through, Anthony comes. I'm going through some old stuff. I really reluctantly do not want to take this meeting, but let me just play some stuff. And I'm playing stuff that I forgot about. And I stopped on this one song, and he goes, "What's that?" And it only had a hook. And it's a track. And the beat was slightly dated, so I was even more annoyed because it's like, this is not what I'm doing now.
That's right.
So he's like, "Nah, man, I like that. Finish that."
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. Hey, listen, whatever.
Yeah.
So he leaves, and I sit there, and I'm thinking like, and then it hit me. Wouldn't it be dope? Yo. So I called Jonte. And I say, "Jonte, if you're smart, you'll do this." He's like, what, big bro, what? And he lives out here.
Yeah. And
so I'm like, I'm going to play you. So one thing about Jonte, he had a great memory. Like he could hear something one time and remember it.
Nice.
And he was 15 around that time.
Wow.
So, 15. So I'm like, listen, I'm going to play something over the phone and I need verses. Because the song was the hook in the track. So I said, but Jonte, listen, I need a conversation. And I when I say this, I have to say it this way. The homie was big at that time.
Yeah.
The homie. I have to say the homie.
Okay.
And Jonte loved the homie. And he was really into the homie and writing like the homie. Yeah. So
I know exactly who the homie is. Okay.
Yeah. So I had to listen. I don't want you to do it like how I know you're gonna do it.
Right.
Because it's too many words.
Yeah.
I need a conversation. So I played it over the phone for him. He heard it. Remember, he has a good memory. He hangs up, calls him back a few minutes later with some verses, and he's singing it over the phone. I'm like, oh no, it's too many words.
Too wordy.
Too many words. Too wordy. Way too wordy. It's like, it sounds like a song. I don't want it to sound like a song. I want it to sound like a conversation.
Yeah.
So he hangs up, he calls me back again. No, it sounds like a song. I can tell this is like a song.
Yeah.
I go get something to eat, come back. He calls again. And when he calls me this time, then it was, now look, any other day I would play it cool, but I can't now. Because I want you.
Nice.
You see, I'm hooked on how you flex your style, and I want to talk for a little while. I ain't never really seen your type, but I must admit that I kind of like. So
what?
Maybe if you had a time, we could talk about.
Is he talking it like that, or he's just kind of singing it like that? Got you the lyrics.
When he gave me the lyrics, that's how I knew it was right, because I can take the exact same lyrics
and put the magic to it,
add nothing to it, and talk it out in a conversation like I just did.
That's right.
That's how I knew it was perfect.
Wow.
So he hung up. I sang the demo. Rest is history. And the story that I wanted was blow your replacement up. Man. He blew his replacement up. So ironically, Tyrese has his biggest record is from his replacement artist. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a great story.
That's crazy.
That's one of my favorite stories, actually.
Wow. That now this is what I love about this show. Like, I'm learning so many little behind the scenes. This is the magic right here. Mm-hmm. And Jonte, shout out to him, because he's actually one of my favorite writers, like, out there. Like, this guy is
beast.
And putting that together, even the cadence, how you guys put that together, it just feels like, even in that, it feels to me like when I listen to his music that came after that, that he took the formula from what you were advising him to do to future hits.
Yep.
That's crazy. This leads me to what I think most people know you for. Like, obviously, most people know you for Trey Songz. Trey Songz being one of R&B's most prolific R&B artists, definitely of the last, since like the mid-2000s up to now. Highly respected artist, singer, rapper, just overall talent. So how that relationship start, how that come to be?
So now let's go back to Charles, my ex-partner. At the time, he ironically went to high school with Trey's stepdad.
Gotcha.
And so because of that, of course, Kenny knew that Charles was, in the music business.
Sure.
And at this point, we had been in it for like 12 years.
Yeah, for sure.
And he wanted him, my son wants to sing. He raps. He said he wants to sing. I don't know. I just wanted to hit you up, see what you think. And so Charles was more the business side. So his whole thing was, send him to Troy. But he'd never done that. So by this time, Charles just hit me, man, could you just listen to Kenny's son, man? Just listen to him, let him sing for you, whatever. So I could tell Kenny what I think.
Sure.
And so I said, all right, just have him come over. And so Trey came over, and he was 15. It was 2001. He was 15, and he came over, and he sang for me. And he sang Donnell Jones, Where I Want to Be.
Okay.
And so for a kid who really raps but wants to sing, he doesn't know anything about nothing. He doesn't, you know what I mean? He just in high school.
He got some talent. And
running around singing, and girls like it, and whatever.
Yeah.
He stayed in key. He sang it the way it goes.
Yeah.
And his tone. He had a tone, like a certain tone that was pretty dope.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. And then he had this thing in his eyes. Pause. He had this thing in his eyes that was like, little kid, he's kind of tall, but he had an
it thing. Yeah.
And so I said, oh, so you write? He's like, yeah, no, I do. And so he pulled this piece of paper out, and I'm watching him. He pulls a piece of paper out, and he's singing this song that he wrote a cappella.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, he has a verse, he has a chorus. He don't know this. He just
wrote some stuff.
Doing what he, mimicking.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, come over here. Because he was at my house when we was in the basement. So I told him to sing the hook. And he's like, sing the chorus. He's like,
what part of the chorus? Like,
yeah, you don't know. I'm like, wait, okay. That part right there.
Yeah.
Keep singing that part.
Yeah.
So while he was singing it, I was finding the chords out and see what chords go with it. So I put the whole track there while he was sitting there. He had never seen that happen before. So I said, pull the seat up. And I said, put the headphones on you and take one off right here, just a little bit, so you can hear what's going on.
Yep.
And when I point to you, I want you to sing. Now he knows what the hook is. So. And so he sings it. And he sings, pretty much along how it was going to be, because he watched me make the track. He
understands the melody, what's happening.
He already knew what was going on. So I said, okay, that was good. I said, okay, so now I'm going to give you a harmony note. And he's like,
what's that?
I'm like, a harmony, like, when someone harmonizes.
Wow.
Okay, all right. In church, you have the soprano,
right.
Alto. Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
He was that rough.
Yes, it was.
Wow.
Super.
I love this.
So he just didn't know what it was called.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm going to give you a note. Now, the note, the test was, and you know this test, you give somebody a note, and y'all are supposed to be harmonizing, and they keep getting down to your note. That says a lot for their ear. Like, see, you on my note. Get off my note.
That's
like,
right.
You know what I mean? So I gave him a note to sing along with the melody that he laid down. And he kept that note the whole time. So I was like, ooh. Okay. All right. He didn't know. He didn't know that he was so, like, that was a test that most people don't. Because they can't remember the note. Sure. And then they keep going down to the other one.
That's
because
right.
They hear
they
it.
Keep jumping back to the melody or whatever. Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to give you another one. Gave him another note. And he killed it. I'm like, okay. So we finished the song. I gave him little ad-libs. I filled in the harmonies and stuff and built it. I made it bigger and put it on the CD. And that was August 2001. And he was about to go back to school. He lived in Virginia. So he went back to school, went back to Virginia, went back to school. And his mom called me super excited. Like, what do I need to do to keep him going?
Yeah.
He wants to really do this. He had a great time. So I was like, well, give him a SkyTel pager so that we can keep in touch. Because that's
for sure.
And so he's the only one in high school with a SkyTel pager keeping in touch with his producer.
Yeah.
So he's stunting, super stunting by this point.
Yeah.
So every break, any breaks, spring breaks, summer breaks, not summer breaks, but winter breaks. He would come back to New Jersey. I lived in New Jersey. Stay with his stepdad, who lived 8 minutes away from me.
Gotcha.
And he would come over and he would just follow me everywhere, wherever sessions I'm going to, until the summer. And in the summer, he spent the whole summer in Jersey, but with me.
Yeah.
And so by this point, he goes back to school for senior year. He graduates, and his mom gives him a year to apply to the music. If it don't work, you're going to get a job, go to school, or both.
Yeah.
She was dead serious about that. So that's when everything, but ironically, so that's August 2001. He comes back around the holiday time. During this course of the time, I'm about to leave characters. I'm about to make the big step out on my own. So he gets caught in the middle. Because remember, I met him because of...
That's right, because of Charles.
So I'm loyal.
Yeah. So
I was like, bro, I met you because of him, so you might want to just stay. We can still work together, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Sure.
I don't know I don't know nothing about what I'm doing. I don't know who I'm gonna
what's gonna happen. Sure.
Yeah, I didn't have songbook then.
Yeah.
So I didn't want him to feel like he's waiting on me for anything.
That's right.
So I told him, you stay with Charles, and we can still work together, but I just don't know what I'm doing yet. So by 2002, I started on my own. And so Charles had given him, made a deal with him and said, you do 60 songs and I'll start shopping you a deal. By this point, he was 16. So, but he hadn't finished learning.
Sure.
And Charles is the business side, so he really wasn't going to,
develop it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, long story short of all of that, I was in the studio, ironically, with Carl Thomas in the Electric Lady studio in New York. And when you go down, you lose all signal. And so when I came up later on that evening after he was done, all my messages came in. And it was Trey leaving me a bunch of messages like to call me, yo, call me, yo, call me. So I called him, like, what's going on? It's like, yo, Charles kicked me out. Kicked me out of the studio. He said I can't work there no more. I was like, what you mean? What happened? I did like 60 something. I forget the number he said. So he said, if I do something,
start shopping.
So I guess he got mad because I don't come in that much anymore. Because Trey had stopped coming in as much.
Yeah.
And he would stay with me. And I guess, I never actually asked Charles his side of the story of it. But from what I've heard, he didn't think Trey was serious. And so he was teaching Trey a lesson. If this is what you say you want, you need to be here. And Trey's like,
I'm here.
I did 60 but songs. Ain't nobody working with me when I come in.
Right.
You said to do 60 songs, and I did 60 such and such.
Yeah.
And so I was just not coming in that much, but he was spending more time with me. So,
sure.
But Trey was laughing the whole time because he thought it was just like great.
Yeah.
Because his mind is, now I can stay with you.
That's right. I
don't got to go in.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right, Trey, all right. So basically what I realized at that transitional time for me, because I was in the studio, because I was behind the scenes, I forgot that I know everybody Charles knows. You know what I mean? Like everyone he knows. He's just a business.
That's right.
I'm like, and ironically, around that time, music industry wise, the transition was starting where everyone wanted to deal with the producer now. We were in the area of the manager. That's right. Now it's like, can I talk to the producer? I want to talk to the producer
directly. So
and then Pro Tools was just starting too.
I remember this.
So all of that happened around that time. And so
this is 02.
This is 02.
I remember Avid. It was Avid at the time, right? Okay.
No, it was Pro Tools.
It was Pro Tools. And
Avid
then
hadn't taken over.
Not yet. No, so this is when the DigiDesign.
It was DigiDesign, Pro Tools 4. That was my first.
Okay, I remember. Okay.
So and me and Trey literally learned Pro Tools together.
Nice.
Like we literally learned it, but that's what ended up happening. And I'm just like, I know everybody he knows. I can do this. So I put together a 10-song demo for Trey, and my manager at the time, Delonte Murphy, I gave it to him to shop. He started shopping it around, and that's how it happened.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I remember, so when his first album came out, I can't remember what year, but I remember there's like, it's a new surgence of new guys. Neo is now like the guy.
Neo, yep.
Mario is starting to, we already knew Mario a little bit, but now he's really coming to another level in his own career. Chris is like the young prince of the game at this point. Of course, Usher is like at the top in that arc, the top of that arc. And I could always, when Trey Songz, his first projects was coming out, I could hear he was a very passionate singer. I wasn't as big a fan yet, but I'm like, because again, I'm an artist too. I'm looking at all these guys like they're younger than me, and I'm like, I'm looking at them like, okay, I see what they're doing, But I can hear and feel his passion. It wasn't until I want to say, I'm ready. Yeah, that just brings me to this album right here.
Oh wow.
This album.
No, you don't got that.
Listen.
I don't even got that.
This album right here is when I became an official Trey Songz fan. Again, before I'm listening to everybody who's making music. So you have Neo is popping, Chris Brown popping, Mario is popping. Trey Songz comes. There's a few other guys, and Trey Songz comes, and around that 08, 09 run timeline, he became kind of like it was like a lull for, everybody else was kind of down, I guess, at that time. And then Trey just come out swinging on that album. And he just wasn't missing. So it seemed like for about 2 years, 3 years, he seemed to be when I'm ranking, not ranking in terms of best, but I'm ranking in terms of like popularity. Trey was just that guy. Like,
I mean, it was a journey, because when Trey came out, the album was actually 2 years old, because it sat. And so a lot of the songs seemed dated, but it was popping when we did it.
That's right.
We didn't know we were going to be 2 years before people hear Gotta Go. I did Gotta Go the same time as Alicia Keys' You Don't Know My Name. That's what inspired me. Wow. So if you're a DJ, you can mix the two right together. But by the time people will hear Gotta Go, You Don't Know My Name is 2 years old. Kanye had switched up the sampling thing, so the sampling thing was, so by the time Gotta Make It came out, it was like, and then it's like, oh, we're not doing that. And it was like, so it was kind of dated, and I was pissed because the label just took too long, and they didn't understand. They didn't understand who Trey was.
Right.
So the first album, second album got some momentum. You know, we did Can't Help But Wait and Last Time.
That's right. Yeah.
But it wasn't until the third album where, because the first and second album kept us in the red.
Sure.
That they're like, if you don't make this happen, then you're gonna get dropped. So they kind of backed off, which is what we wanted anyway. Sure. All along. When they backed off, we just super went into, and we put out Anticipation. There was a mixtape that we put out. That mixtape started it because it not only started Trey as a serious artist in his sound, it started off. No one was doing mixtapes as an R&B artist. Yeah, it was all hip hop. That's right. You do a mixtape, and so that became a thing that would circulate in the colleges. Yep. You know, the CD would be in the sneaker store, like on the table. That's right. Would be in the thing when you're purchasing, and we leaked that out and put that out. Super against the label, but we didn't care at this point because it's like, if we're gonna do this, we might as well go out. Is this when he had the record with Drake? Was that on Drake's mixtape or was that which one? This was because Drake was a huge fan of Trey, and so he sought Trey out to do what's that? Something Girl. This is it came to my mind when you said it. I remember specifically a mixtape. This is 08, I think, as a mixtape. So this is before that. Okay. I know what one you're talking about. Okay. Before that song, Drake had. This is how Trey met Drake. Okay. Drake had asked Trey to do a hook for him because he was a fan. Yeah. And Drake did the hook, but it sounded like Trey Songz. So he was just like, "Yo, I'm a huge fan." So he asked Trey to do it, and Trey did it, and that's when they became friends. Gotcha. So by the time we come up to Successful. That's it, yeah. Yeah. That was around 08. Yeah. So this is a time when me and Trey are just doing what we're doing. Yeah. Now, Trey had 8 straight back braids, baggy clothes. This guy is 6'1", tall, broad shoulders. Like, dude, you are perfect to wear some dope fashion. You got this whole build to wear, but he did not care. He just wanted to be baggy. He had he wanted to be a tough guy, and not step. He's a rapper, but it's like you're a rapper. He's not stepping into his swag yet. You don't look like one. Your face says differently. Yeah. So, Ready. During the course of this whole time, there would be something that I would always say to Trey. You sure you want to do this, man? Like, cause I don't know, Trey. You like to sleep. You don't like people you don't like people too close to you. It annoys you. You get popular. That's what's gonna happen. Absolutely. You'll lose your sleep. You're not gonna be able to sleep like you like. That's right. And I'm like, I don't know. You ready for this? Are you really ready to do this, Trey? And I would always ask him that. So when Trey decided to cut his hair, that was like, wait, he's doing what? He got in the gym. He stepped it up. I watched this happen. Right. I'm like, when he did that, when he did all those things, now you're ready. Yeah. And that's why the album's called Ready, because I felt like you're ready. Nice. So that's how that all came about to say. And then Delonte designed that cover and did all the, the video creative stuff because he was his manager at the time. Sure. So it was perfect. We did it the way we wanted to do it. We leaked records out, even though we didn't know who did it.
Yeah.
At the time.
Right.
And we got it the way we wanted, and it happened the way we wanted it to happen since it was on us.
Right.
And by that time, it was like the label is not messing with us, so we got a chance to do it how we wanted to do it. And then from there, they left us alone.
So the Neighbors Know My Name.
Yep.
That record was that, that was the one, the R&B one. I mean, obviously he had a bunch of other big hits, but that record, let's do a deep dive on that. Like, what was the process when I guess, did you come up with the concept? How'd that come to be?
So the guitar player, he used to play for the homie.
Did I not just listen? Ironically, I was on the phone with my producer and we were talking and I said, this lick at the beginning, I'm telling you, it reminded me of this song from the homie. And I'm telling you, I was like, let me find a song. I got you. So go ahead, continue.
Sometimes I say Mr.
I just love being right about this stuff.
Sometimes I say Mr. Sir, but
I got you.
Today he's the homie.
I got you.
So I had met him. And so he gave me some loops, some guitar loops. And I got with one of my young producers, SK, and I looped the guitars, and I had the beat while the guitar was going, because I didn't know what I wanted to do with the kick yet.
Yeah.
So I was just doing that, and the guitar was going, and the kick was just this for now, till I figured out what I wanted to do.
Sure.
So that banging noise, Trey was upstairs. And so he came downstairs, and he starts like being, because people don't really know how freaking goofy he really is, and it's terrible that he never well, sometimes he does, but for the most part, no one knows.
Sure.
Most all of our songs that are popular started off with him acting goofy.
Just goofing off. Gotcha.
Gotta Go, all of them, all those songs.
Nice.
And so,
but those are the pure ones, though.
Yeah,
those are the pure ones.
So he comes down. He's like, he said, it sound like the neighbors is banging on the wall because I'm beating it up. Yeah. And they're mad at me. That's what he literally said. And so the music is going, it's blasting, and he's just like, the neighbors.
Nice.
The neighbors. Like, he just kept doing the neighbors. He didn't say to know my name yet.
Yeah.
And so he just kept doing that while we're making the music. And so as he kept doing that, like, he kept describing what's going on. Like, I'm beating it up, so she's screaming my name. The neighbor can hear her saying my name. The neighbors know my name. And he just kept singing it. So I'm like, dude, no, we need to lay that down.
Yeah, that's a record.
So, but going back, that's how Gotta Go was. Trey was actually about to go back to Virginia, and I had the music playing. And usually when he leaves, I always seem to have a track playing, and it throws him off.
Nice.
And so I had the track playing at that particular time, and he was like, I don't want to leave, but I gotta go right now. I'm like, yo, put that down.
Yeah.
Put that down before you forget it. So he didn't really think nothing of it.
Yeah.
So he put it down before he left, and then I finished it.
Nice.
As far as the harmonies and all of that stuff. And so I made him put a verse down before he left though. Mm-hmm. So that whole first verse is a freestyle.
Wow.
Because he's a rapper.
Yeah.
So calling my body, calling my soul. That's all freestyle.
Yeah.
And so he left, and then I did the bridge. So I left the second verse open for him to come back. Mm-hmm. But I did the bridge because he's still learning.
Yeah, sure.
And so, of course, the bridges is when we go
nuts,
stupid.
That's right.
Like, you can do chords, you can do harmonies, and nobody say anything because it's the bridge.
It's the bridge. That's right.
Favorite part. So I laid all the harmonies down and played it for him over the phone, and that made him get excited and come back sooner.
Nice.
He came back, finished the song. So getting back to Neighbors, that's how that song came about. Now, ironically, Neighbors had a bridge and a full chain bridge. But Craig Calvin, he was like, nah, it doesn't need the bridge. Take the bridge out. I'm like, what? Because Craig is always telling me to put a bridge in. He told me to take it out. So before he goes, now I'll be banging on it. There was a bridge before that. So Craig said, take the bridge out and just put that
So that's kind of a vamp.
It was like a outro kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So Craig was like, nah, just take that out and put that bang right there and make it get to the point.
Yeah.
He was right. It definitely worked.
Because it's perfect. I mean, I mean, you know, and I know.
But we loved our bridges.
Of
like,
course.
Like, don't take the bridge out.
That's right. So, maybe one day y'all put out the version.
I mean,
I
played it on my Ustream class.
Gotcha.
So they know the bridge. They know what the bridge sounds.
Gotcha. I need to get that. I just want to hear it. Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Man, you've had such an illustrious career, worked with so many fantastic artists, and I'm sure I could talk to you forever. So about all of these artists, there's so many stories. I wanted to ask, so we're talking about, you know, the whole point of this show, we're really trying to we're creating a platform, just starting a whole new resurgence. Talking about R&B, I want people to listen to R&B again. This is what I want people to do. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I want you to listen to it. And not just from, obviously, as curators of R&B music, creating it. But, you know, when I'm having these conversations, I know, like, I'm talking to my producer, I'm talking to other people that we're working with, and they're getting more excited about R&B. And I'm teaching them about things that they weren't familiar with, right? So now we're talking about doing a Can We Talk R&B festival. Who would be, if you can name me 5 artists that you would like to see perform at that R&B festival? So Can We Talk R&B?
Okay, so I can name some, but I don't know the lineup yet. I don't know who goes first, who's the headliner or nothing like that. Okay, so who would I want to see? I would want to see Chris.
For sure.
Definitely want to see Trey.
For sure.
Because, by the way, their tour that they had together,
man,
the Between the Sheets tour,
I did not catch those dates. I remember that. I remember that.
Tour was crazy.
I can imagine.
And it pisses me off just thinking about it. Because why isn't there a freaking part 2? Like, but okay, whatever.
Just for the record, do they need a promoter or somebody to put that together?
I don't know. I gotta get Trey back in the studio.
Nah. Okay. Okay.
Breathe. All right. Chris, Trey, Beyonce. Definitely
for sure.
Who else? Chris, Trey, Beyonce. I want to say Jasmine Sullivan.
Oh, come on.
I gotta have Jasmine. Jasmine's got to be in there.
I was on the phone with someone yesterday, and I said, of this generation, Jasmine is in the air of the all-time greats. She's up there with the Whitneys and the Mariahs and the Anita Bakers and the Aretha Franklins. Like, she has tapped into that as a writer, as a performer. Her music, she tells stories. I can feel it. She touches every mark, and then she's an elite vocalist.
That's why she's got to be in the line.
Got to be. I love it. Okay, I just had to drop that in. Big shout out to Jazz.
Chris, we got Trey, we got Beyonce, we got Jasmine. I definitely want Usher.
Of course.
Definitely want Usher. But to keep it even, this one last person, it has to be a girl. It has to be a girl. So I'm going to say, of this generation now, Victoria Monet. She's dope.
I like it.
She's dope.
She is dope.
She ain't pop yet.
But she is dope.
She's dope.
And I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
Dope.
I believe she's working with D-Mile a lot on this project, right?
I don't know. But if she is,
yeah, from my understanding, yes.
That's it. That's gonna be it.
Maybe I said something that wasn't supposed to be said.
I don't know. That's it.
I got that on good faith. So
she's crazy. She's really dope.
We want, Victoria Monet, you're amazing. We want you on the Can We Talk R&B podcast. Wow,
she's really.
That's dope. Crazy. So you gave me 6, and
because I can't.
No, I'm with it. And the reality is, and what I love about it is, everyone you picked are really good. They're really musical. Like, they're not. It's so many the R&B artists. People are calling them to be. I'm like, just because it's slow and you're singing, don't make it R&B.
Right.
Whole nother conversation.
Well, I mean, hip hop is. I don't even understand why that 120 is not a ballad.
Listen,
but they think it's they bopping that.
Listen,
no, that's a ballad.
Yeah,
that's
technically
a ballad, but okay, whatever.
Yeah,
bopping your head instead of swaying, I guess. Whatever.
Man, so we talked about something a little while ago that I want to really dive into a little bit. You mentioned how much money you made from a Boyz II Men project versus what you make now, and you have millions upon millions of albums sold. You know, you're respected, critically acclaimed across the board. No, like, you are the I think they call you, and I believe you're the new duly elected mayor of R&B is what they're calling you.
Is that it? I ain't heard that. Hey, mayor of R&B.
Somebody's calling you the mayor.
Mayor of R&B.
They're calling you the mayor. We read that somewhere, and I said, I like it. And then, to be honest with you, I'm not mad at that title for you at all.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So with that type of, respect across the board and your pedigree and all the things that you've accomplished, I think it's egregious. Of course, we know how the business has changed. I mentioned to you off camera, we were talking about, look, I'm an independent artist. I never signed as an artist. I've worked with labels as a producer and a songwriter, but as an artist, I was independent. And look, I'm from Louisiana. I learned from Master P. Look, put that album out, sell it out the trunk, whatever. My old group back in the day, we sold 12,000 copies independent. So we have a hard copy CD, $10 a pop, that's 120 grand. We're making a living. When I went solo, I did the same thing multiple times. And I made real good money as an independent artist. Now, I've obviously transitioned that to other businesses that I'm a part of now. But you as a culture pusher in the music business, and you actually selling millions of albums, how does that make you feel coming from, the evolution of it all?
It makes me feel like garbage because it's like I came this far. I didn't do records for this little bit of money when I started. So all of a sudden, Trey, we didn't have a budget. Can you just What the heck? 33 years in the game, and you telling me, oh, you want me to do it for this? And I didn't even do that starting off.
Right.
It doesn't. It's something's wrong.
Sure.
Streaming is. Something ain't right. It don't add up to me. It doesn't make sense to me. And I know there was a point where the labels, they were kind of like stumped because they felt like they lost a lot of money. And at the time where social media is going up, they have these artists they spent a whole lot of money on, but then these artists become actors and start making money elsewhere. Because they're not right. And so the labels is like, hey, and then brings up the 360. So now it's like, well, we want that money too. And it's like, okay, so now streams, while it's still not quite understood what it really is and how much it really is and all those things, the labels are just taking it until it's figured out. So they're having a great time. Ooh, he went viral. They're going to go get him. And, oh, dang, here's another one. Oh, is he? Oh, anyway, let's get him. And streams? What is streams?
It's so crazy. Get it. So iTunes, right? iTunes around 06, 07 became like one of the leading ways of people consuming music. But you had to buy it. So you're paying 99 cents for a song. You're paying $9.99 or whatever for an album. And the labels or the artists or whoever owned the record would get 75, 80% of that sale. And now, they still can do that now. So iTunes is still available. And so on your app, it's the iTunes logo with the star.
Right.
But when was the last time you actually saw that? You really see the Apple logo with the music note. And that's Apple Music.
Right.
Two different things. So Apple Music is where everybody is.
Because it's streaming.
Because it's streaming. They don't have to pay the artist or the label, whoever, that 70, 85%. Now they just get this subscription money and they allow you to stream. So I know I'm giving game right now because a lot of people don't know that.
It doesn't match up. It doesn't add up. How would go from paying 99 cents at one point to not that.
And you still have access to everybody's music.
Yeah. With subscription. So that means how much is the song worth?
That's right.
If you're doing a subscription, what's the song worth now? What's the subscription? Oh, to pay to hear monthly all the music you want to hear.
Yeah.
So how much is that? When I used to pay 99 cents to buy it, how much is it worth now? So it's too many questions that's not answered.
Remember the radio royalty was, I want to say, it was 6 cents for every 30 seconds, something like that, right? So this is, this is ASCAP, this is BMI, CSAC. The publishing royalty for radio play was about 6 cents for every 30 seconds. I know this because I used to go to all these conferences at the pro houses all the time, and I'm like, man, I got to get a radio placement. I got to get this. Songs, now you have, obviously, it's been like this for some years, 10, 15 songs playing on the radio every hour, same ones across the country. So obviously that's being funneled by the powers that be for that to happen that way. So I'm assuming they're still getting those royalties like that. But now you don't have as many songs on the radio. So we're consuming music differently. So that royalty is not being paid out. So the way we consume it now, I think they need to change the laws. We've seen this. We've seen the writer's strike for in the acting world. We've seen the actor's strike. And now, I mean, honestly, I've been having conversations with people. How do you feel about musician strike? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the kids are not educated on it. They're not educated to know the difference it would make. And then remember, hip hop is still the leading genre.
Sure.
Not everybody, but a lot of them make their money outside in the streets too.
Yeah.
So what are they striking about? What are they exactly? Why? I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really care. Like, how'd you get them to care enough? You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
So, I don't know. I don't know how could they be taught the importance of doing this and saying, even if it interrupts what they got going on, are they willing to do that?
Are they willing to do it?
And so, you know, you got a lot of kids that ain't nothing to do with me. I'm saying I'm getting my money. That's what you're up against.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't know how it would have to be really an experiment. And how do you get people who are on social media? Who does it? Is it Shade Room, Hollywood Unlocked, Spirit World? They all come together and join an alliance to tell everybody, hey, we need to do this. Would they do that? I don't know, because they're really leading influencer,
That's
you know,
right.
on social media. So would they say this is what needs to happen?
Right. Maybe it would have to be like one of the pro houses, like they have to initiate it the same way SAG did, or you know, maybe it has to be something like that. I don't know, but anyway, look, Troy, absolute pleasure, man. Thank you for blessing the stage with us, bro. It means a lot that you showed up and came and gave us an incredible conversation. Come on, man. Can we talk it, bro? Can we talk R&B? And it's exciting for me. Again, I told you before, I'm a singer-songwriter. I never made it as an artist at the level I wanted to make it. I've had some phenomenal success, but I'm just passionate about this more than anything. Like, so if I've had people call me or email me from Japan, call me from London, call me from Australia. Bro, I never met you before. I played your song at my wedding. That enough. To me, that's what I do it for. At the same time, having conversations like this will initiate more passion, initiate more interest in the genre, and more people want to talk about it and enjoy it.
Hearing people's story makes people realize the substance in R&B.
Absolutely. Troy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yes. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Can we talk? Oh, can we talk?
Can we talk?